it's a fun job to have. You know, I get to drive race cars for a living, so it's easy to kind of make it your hobby too. And so I obsess over this. When I'm at home, you know, I'm spending a lot of time just watching races back, you know, sometimes on the simulator, training a lot. I kind of my training for me is like another competitive outlet.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Track Limits podcast presented by Formula Addict. I'm your host Swish. I'm with my co-host Henny. We're at Honda Indy Toronto in the Team Penske Transporter to introduce an incredible guest to the show, your two-time IndyCar Series champion. This year also won the Indy 500, Josef Newgarden. Welcome.
Ooh, welcome.
Boys, welcome to the Death Star. This is the inner sanctum.
This is it.
No, it's great to have you guys. It's a great weekend for us. We love Toronto. I mean, genuinely, I don't really have a favorite on the IndyCar circuit as far as track types or places that we go, but this is I think a fan favorite. It's a paddock favorite. We just like being in the city. It's a good reason to be here.
Yeah. This is the best time too. We only have 3 months of sun, so you're here at a very ideal time. But no, I want to ask right away, even like off the track, Josef Newgarden obsessions. What are they? Like, what do you love doing off the track? What are some things that right now you're really curious about?
It's a good question. I don't have great answers for it because I'm so obsessed with my job. I mean, my job has really become my hobby, and I don't know that that's super healthy. If it wasn't for my wife, I'd probably be way too obsessed with my job. But it's a fun job to have. You know, I get to drive race cars for a living, so it's easy to kind of make it your hobby too. And so I obsess over this. When I'm at home, you know, I'm spending a lot of time just watching races back. You know, sometimes on the simulator, training a lot. I kind of my training for me is like another competitive outlet. I have to be doing something competitive in life, whether it's on track or it's off. And so when I'm off track, I like to train because it gives me that competitive function. So I do a lot of that. You know, I'm kind of a cinephile. I love watching movies.
Nice.
Oddly enough, I like traveling when it's not to do with work, because typically I get kind of burned out from travel with racing. But when you get to do just fun travel, maybe go to like a place like Japan with my wife is like super fun. So we like doing stuff like that. You got to kind of layer it into our calendar, which is normally pretty busy throughout the year.
Well, let's take you back as you were a kid. Is this something you've always wanted to do, or was there something that you were thinking about back in the day?
I always wanted to drive race cars. You know, I didn't understand what that meant when I was young. I just wanted to race go-karts, and it took a long time to convince my dad and my mom to, let me pursue that. Yeah. It's also not something that's, at least when I started, wasn't super known in where I grew up. I grew up in Nashville, Tennessee, and that part of the United States, it's not as common to race go-karts. You know, people didn't really know what that meant when I was young. So we had to travel away from our home, 4 or 5 hours away to find a good competitive go-kart track. And, you know, I didn't really get into it until I was 13. So it was a little bit later than what you'll, hear from other racing drivers. You know, nowadays people start when they're 3-4 years old, super young. But, I always knew I loved racing. I was exposed to it on TV. I always watched IndyCar, Formula One, NASCAR, but Le Mans, I watched everything. Just loved racing. And, it's funny looking back on it now because it is a crazy sport to try and get involved in. It's very difficult to make it to the professional level. And it's sort of nuts when I look back and see that it all worked out. And there's a lot that went right, and great timing, great opportunity. And we had, a lot of luck, I think, relative to other people. But I just never realized when I was young that it would, maybe reach this level, and this is what it would be.
Right. Wow, and to sustain that level, I know IndyCar drivers are known for their mental grit, physical toughness. Like, your training regimen, what does that even look like? Can you walk us through, what does it mean to train as an IndyCar driver?
Yeah, sure. I mean, it's it could be very long-winded, this answer. I mean, there's a lot that goes into it. It's I think when people look at racing, they don't think of it as maybe an athletic sport, and I do. It is very much it takes athleticism, not just from the drivers, but actually you think about specifically in IndyCar racing, the mechanics that are over the wall working on a pit stop. It's very athletic what they're doing. Even if you look at the mechanic, you don't think they're that athletic. To be able to do a 6-second pit stop with one person per tire is really tricky.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not easy. If I went and tried to do it, it would take me 20 seconds. It's very specialized what they do. So, but yeah, in the car, we love that IndyCar racing is really physically challenging. There's no power steering, which is great. That's kind of by design. It's very old school. They've never had power steering. So I always tell people, it's like going into a gym and picking up about a 30-pound plate and trying to steer that for a couple hours, because the peak torque on the wheel is around 30 foot-pounds of torque. Your average is probably maybe closer to 20. So just to be fair, let's say a 25-pound plate, you know, and you got to be able to steer that. So it takes a tremendous amount of upper body strength, core strength, you know, the G loading. That you guys know about. Obviously, with Formula One, they create tremendous amounts of downforce on those cars. Similar with an IndyCar, a little bit less now because we've peeled downforce off of them recently. But they make a ton of downforce, and with that comes a lot of G loading. So 5 Gs under braking, you know, 2 or 3 under acceleration, and then 5 plus in cornering. And so just all of that combined is a lot of stress, all the heat as well when it's a hot day, especially somewhere like here in Toronto. So it's hard to train for that. Outside of just being in the car. The best thing I could do to train would actually be to run in the actual race car. You're going to train specifically what you need to. So I've always approached training that I want to be really well-rounded. I just want to be as fit and as athletic as I can be at anything. So I row, I ski, I do some CrossFit style work, a lot of circuit training. I do strength training as well, just to keep my peak strength up. But it's all about strength, endurance, good cardio, and just being able to, you know, withstand the conditions that the car has and not have to think about that. If I'm thinking about the fatigue, then I can't focus on driving the car fast.
And now, look, 2017 champion, 2019 champion, Indy 500. What keeps you going? I've always wondered, like, you've accomplished so much. Now, what's next for you?
You've done it all.
Yeah, like, what's left?
It's never enough.
I love it.
You know, I think you do have to be very greedy within motorsport, because you know, if you do find some success and you get complacent, I think you start to fall back then, right? And so for me, it's always, you know, what is the next goal? What is the next task? I mean, even this year, you know, it's easy to fall into the trap that we won the Indianapolis 500, so it's just a great year. I don't think of it like that. You know, it was a great achievement. It's something at the end of the year we can look back on and be really proud of and celebrate. But, you know, right now, no one really cares that we won the 500. We're on race 10. We've got, you know, 8 more to go, and we're fighting for a championship. And so that's where the focus is, and no one cares what we did back in the month of May. So I'm just always focused on the next goal. I really like records personally. You know, there's a lot of drivers say they don't look at them, or I know all the records. And I can tell you, pretty much all the drivers know the records too. Even when they say they don't and they don't care about it, they know what they are. But I love that stuff. I really like looking at sporting individuals, whether it's in racing or it's another sport, that sustain not only high success or greatness, but they sustain it for a long period of time. You know, I've always been impressed by that, and it's much harder to do than it looks, you know, from the outside. I mean, it's hard enough to get to the top level and then find success at some point, but someone that gets to the top level and then finds sustained success, that's like a whole other level of difficulty. And so that's what I always work towards, and that's what keeps me motivated to, you know, try and be better every year, because I know that is the most difficult thing to do in motorsports.
Brilliant. Well, we're going to get into a rapid fire round now, if that's a game for it.
Sick.
Perfect. So let's do it. Okay, right away. First question. If you had to choose one track to race on forever, and it's an Indy track, which one would you pick?
Oh, man, it's tough. I really am.
Toronto.
Slip it in.
Toronto would be up there. I like everywhere. You know, the DNA of IndyCar racing is the fact that you have to be good on so many different types of tracks.
That's
you
true.
know, it's road course, street course, ovals, and the ovals are different types. Short ovals, super speedways. So there's a lot of different types of racing in IndyCar. I love that you have to be good on everything. If I was going to answer the question, I think it has to be the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Just, you know, there's so many great events. Toronto's not like Indy and vice versa. But Indianapolis, there's so many people there. There's such an energy. And now that I've won it, and I know what it's like to win the race. Man, I've never wanted to win the race more than after having won it. That's the effect it has on you. So I would probably say that's the track.
If you had to choose another sport outside of racing, professionally, what sport would it be?
Oh, probably something endurance based, maybe like cycling.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay. That's dumb.
What was the funniest moment you've ever had in a race weekend? You look back on it now and you're laughing, chuckling.
Funniest moment?
Yeah. Or embarrassing too.
Or embarrassing.
It's probably the silly stuff that my teammate Scott McLaughlin and me do. We've got this very silly show called Bus Bros. We 4th of July last year in Mid Ohio, we dressed up as he was an eagle. He was in an eagle suit.
Oh my God.
I was as Uncle Sam. And we went around the campgrounds for the 4th of July.
Oh my
that was
God.
pretty silly. So I don't know how we try and fit that stuff on race weekends, which is not easy.
It's tough. It's tough. What's one piece of memorabilia you would like to own or currently own?
In racing or just in general?
Yeah.
I mean, the helmets are a big deal. You know, I've been really bad about collecting, and by collecting, I mean you swap helmets with other drivers. So I would like to get more helmets in my collection of drivers that I've raced against.
That's dope. One superpower, what would it be if you had one?
Teleportation.
Don't like traveling in airports and stuff?
I just no, I don't. And it would be the most amazing ability for me if we could just like teleport to Japan and to Denmark, then back to Tennessee, it would be amazing.
Oh, love that.
I will take that. What's the most over-asked question you get?
Probably. What do you do when you have to go to the bathroom in the car? That's like the number one racing question.
Everyone's so curious.
It's like, do you pee in yourself?
One food you'd like to have for the rest of your life?
Sushi.
Sushi.
Oh man.
Okay.
If you can switch lives with anyone in the world for a day, who would it be?
Oh my gosh, that's such a deep question. Probably Leonardo DiCaprio.
Hey, very cool.
Just be fascinated to see what his life's like.
I love it. Second last question: what is your guilty pleasure TV show? Maybe something
or movie.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's a guilty pleasure, but I love Family Guy.
Let's go.
Seth MacFarlane's Canadian.
Yeah.
Yes. I did know. Great actors from Canada, by the way. Jim Carrey's like
up there.
my favorite comedic actor. Guilty movies. I don't know that I have a guilty movie. I mean, it would have to be something cringy, right? Because it's guilty.
Yeah.
I think Mean Girls is a great movie. Let's go Mean Girls.
Let's go.
I love it.
Oh my God. If you're stranded on an island, what 3 drivers would you take with you?
Probably McLaughlin, because he's my bus bro. Probably Pato Award, because he's going to bring a lot of nice stuff.
Yeah.
And then I think we'd bring Will Power, because he's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
And like if something goes down, we'll just send Will in to fix it. Yeah.
I love it. That was fantastic. Nailed it. Final thing. I know you tasted the milk at Indy 500. I don't know if you've ever had Canadian bagged milk. So
what?
We're gonna show you.
Is this warm?
No.
This has been chilled.
It's been chilled.
Oh my gosh!
Can you take it out? Yeah, let's take it out of the bag here.
How does this work?
Yeah. So pretty much we have like these like milk bags.
Yeah. I gotta be honest with you. When I went to middle school in America, there was bags like this about half the size, and you could get that for lunch.
Okay.
Like
well,
now,
okay.
Feel free to.
We're gonna do a cheers.
We've already have some.
We've been
poured in.
Chilled the whole day.
Cheers.
Okay.
It feels very cold.
Cheers, guys.
Cheers.
Cheers the 500.
Good. How was it?
Yeah.
That's great. Tastes like milk.
There you go.
Tastes like, I love milk. So
there you go.
You
no worries.
Thank you for coming on,
you.
Joseph. Congrats on everything you've achieved thus far, and obviously good luck going forward.
So nice to meet you guys. Keep it going.
You've been
Love all the
amazing.
support. Yeah.
Thank you.